'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh, and today I wanted to take a minute and talk about anime games and how kind of tired of them. Now, let me clarify what I mean by that. I don't mean I don't want any more anime games. That's kind of the opposite of what I'm trying to say. What I am trying to say is I'm sick of 3D arena battlers and this very common video game type that has been put on anime games and will not stop for some reason. I know the reason. It's because they sell. I get it. And I'm, guilty a little bit of this. I liked the Demon Slayer game. I liked one of the My Hero, I think it was the second one, My Hero 2. Good games. Good games, sure. Not amazing games, not games that stuck with me. This idea kind of came about when I was playing the DLC for DBZ Kakarot. And the final DLC recently came out, and I was playing it, having a good time with it, and I was like, I really liked this game. I got it on PlayStation 4, I've been playing it on my PS5 since I got it, kind of updated it. I got a platinum on the game, I love it. Not everyone will love it, the battles are a little simplistic, but I love the spectacle, I love the exploration, of course I love the characters, the music, the world, everything like that about Dragon Ball. It's a tough game to recommend if you're not already into the franchise, sure. But for me, I love the game. It's one of my favorite games on PS4. Now on PS5, I guess. I have the PS4 version. Like I said, up-resed it. Great. Just finished the final DLC for it. Had a blast. And it got me thinking, I was like, wow, I wish there were more big open-world anime games like this. And I get Dragon Ball is a huge franchise, so they're allowed to take those kinds of risks. And then, of course, looking forward, we have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero coming out, which is seeming to be the biggest anime fighting game of all time. Now, that's a 3D battler as well, but that one they seem to have taken more time on. They slowed down the production cycle. They gave them a few extra years, it seems, to make this the biggest and best game they could. And that I'm okay with. I don't want to immediately, delete this type of game from ever coming out again, but I do want to kind of change how these games, exist, because to me, sure, it's okay to have a My Heroes One Justice one time. Maybe two times, I guess, because there are two of them and I like the second one. But there's okay to have a Demon Slayer. There's okay to have, One Piece is a lucky one to have big RPGs as well. I haven't seen One Piece yet. I will at some point. I hope to start and kind of just run with it. And then knowing I have great games to fall back on, it's a great thing. Actually, it kind of happened with me with Dragon Ball. This game came out before I was a fan of the show, and then I watched the show, and I went back and played the game, and it was a wonderful experience. So that's where anime games shine, is when it's a love letter to the fans. That's when they're the best. I don't think that 3D arena fighters can do that as well. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of people is the new Jujutsu Kaisen game. It didn't review well, people didn't like it, and I don't think it's the genre's fault necessarily, but the genre didn't help. In a stale genre, if you're making good games in a stale genre, people can kind of get over it. People can be like, okay, well, I don't love this genre, but the game's good, the game's even fine, and we can kind of get over the fact that we don't love, the ideas here, but this game is structurally sound, plays well, that's all good. But when it's a stale genre, and then it's a bad game on top of that, that's where the problem arises. Now, I haven't played the new Jujutsu Kaisen game. I probably won't. People really didn't seem to like it. I like the show well enough, but the characters, I don't know. The world's good. The show is great. Animation's great. But the characters don't align themselves, to me, to have a fighting game where I want to play as them all. There's a couple characters that'd be cool, but not my thing. Looking back, it's tougher and tougher because, Demon Slayer, good show. A lot of cool characters. People have their favorites. If you want to play as them in a fighting game, awesome. The game itself is weird because, the gameplay is solid enough, but, the characters don't feel very different from each other. And then, they, of course, all the heroes have swords, so they're all kind of going to feel like each other, and it's a whole thing. But then something like My Hero lends itself way better to a fighting game. And I think One's Justice 2 does it the best. It's just One Justice, but more. Did it warrant its own release? I don't know. It's more later on in the story. So I guess, has more characters, I guess, can warrant its own release. Those characters all feel more distinct because their powers, when Denki has electric powers, and Deku has One for All, and Ochako has gravity, Bakugo has explosions. Like, they can't feel the same. They have to feel different from each other. There's not much you can do and be like, oh, well, they all kind of feel the same, but like, at least they still kind of play like, no, there's no excuses there. They have to feel like themselves, so they have to play a lot differently from each other. Yeah, you can even make this use, like, in Dragon Ball games, like, a lot of characters, they zip around quick, they throw energy beams, they punch a lot, so a lot of them kind of feel similar, but there's a lot of weird moves, and like, they kind of proved that they can play a lot differently when they put them in a 2D game, because that's one of the best fighting games even still going. People love that game, not only from Dragon Ball fans, but fighting game fans, and I think that's another big problem, is that these arena fighters aren't getting the attention of fighting game fans. They're only for anime fans. And when anime fans are disappointed in that product, then you really didn't provide anything. So let's try something new. And the weird thing about this kind of topic is, like, if you love these games, if you love these type of games, more power to you. I'm not telling you you can't like them, but for me, I always like something a little different. And like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is that little bit different. Open world, I love that. RPGs, love that. Mission structures, side stories, talking to the characters I love, living in this world, love that. That's my kind of jam. I actually made a video a while ago talking about the quote-unquote worst My Hero Academia game. And my point in that video was that this game isn't bad. It's just that what it's trying to do and what it is doing are two so different things. What it's trying to be is a great open world game on mobile. This is weird, but it's not a bad game at that. But then it's riddled with microtransactions, and it's filled to the brim with mobile game nonsense about how you have to wait this amount of time to do anything, or you can pay to skip it, and it's a mess. Filled with daily activities that aren't that exciting, but if you miss them, you can't do this, you can't do that, yada, yada, yada. What I wanted out of that video was to kind of convey, hey, imagine how cool it would be to have an open world My Hero game on consoles and PC where we can explore the world, play as different characters, maybe go through the story, maybe go through a different story. I don't know. That part doesn't matter as much to me. It's kind of a joke. Us Dragon Ball fans will play a game again, hearing the same story again. Sure, we will. We love the characters in the world and everything, but we're not objected to hearing new stories with these characters we love. So I'm not objecting to other games and stories in anime doing the same thing. Another weird point when I was kind of coming up with this idea for this video and coming up with my points is that I remembered a few years ago that a Fairy Tail game existed. Now, Fairy Tail is an anime that I love. I watched the first half of it. I stopped after there's like a big tournament arc. On my anime list, it like changes to like Fairy Tail, whatever. The first run, I guess. I'm not fully versed in it, but I watched the first part, half, whatever it was. Like, that world I don't love. Those characters I don't love as much as some other ones, but the world and characters are decent enough to where they made their own game, and I was like tempted. I'm like, huh. It's an RPG. I think it's even a turn-based RPG, which is crazy. Cool idea. Why don't we do that more? Why don't we come up with ideas like this more? Like, I don't even love that show that much. I like it well enough. But, like, I had the idea, like, maybe I will play that game. Support this kind of game because, like, that's what I want to see more of in the anime I do love. And looking forward, Shangri-La has a game coming out. And I hope that it's, it doesn't need to be open world per se, but if it's action-adventure driven and it's a fun game, that's great. Like, that's all I want. I don't want it to be another open arena battler that I'm sick of. I love a Demon Slayer game that's going through different missions, taking out different demons, doing like a mission structure. I said, it doesn't need to be open world. Like, that's not like the solution here. I love open world games, but they don't all need to be that. Just like they don't all need to be 3D arena fighters. The arenas have their place. I just wish that they were given more time and care. They're allowed to thrive not only as anime games, but also as video games in their own right. And like I said, Dragon Ball has proven that when you do a good 2D game, you can do that. And it's adapted and beloved by fighting game players as well as Dragon Ball players, then you've won. That's point number one. Point number two, that shouldn't be the only type of game that exists. More game genres exist that people love to play. And I know there's small smatterings over here. Konosuba has a visual novel. There's like other smaller ones. I know Black Clover has a game that is like a weird little genre. But yeah, there's smatterings of other ones. But the big ones that come out are all the same genre. So let there be other big games that are given love to that are other genres. Those are the two main points. If you're going to make a 3D arena fighter, make the game good enough that even the non-anime fans are going to love it as well. And two, other genres exist. Let's explore those. Let's give these anime their due diligence. And when adapting them into the video game media, give them the genre that makes the most sense, not always the same one. Yeah, and that'll about do it for this discussion on anime games and how I kind of feel about them and how the state of them are going. But are there any anime games that you recommend me playing? Any that, are more recent that, even anime I haven't talked about before? I said One Piece has had good games. I'm sure people have liked the games before. The Fairy Tail game looks good enough for me to even want to try it, even though I'm not a huge fan of the anime. And there's a smattering of other ones that I'm interested in playing. So, by all means, let me know. And that'll about do it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching. And as always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.